too, because the practice of law can be very lucrative in what you can make. So I think twice before I would pass up an opportunity to go to lunch. I don't think you're going to waste your time by going to lunch unless you're talking about a specific case. But if a lawyer from another firm wants you to go to lunch, that gives him an opportunity to see what you're made of. He may have a case that you can handle that he can't handle. He has a lot of business. And it's your that gives you an open door and an opportunity to improve your bottom line in your business. Don't pass that up. I think it's a mistake.
I think what Darlene's saying is absolutely right, although my instincts, I also avoid lunch. I mean, I'll eat lunch, but I want to get something done or run an errand or take care of something for my daughter. But I think what it boils down to is the practice of law is about relationships and trust and your reputation, and what better way to establish that than by getting to know someone. And so I strongly encourage you when you're starting out, and even my friends kind of give me a hard time now because I don't make the time, but even as you go forward, to make the time to go to lunch, cup of coffee, drink, walk around the park, to connect with people, because you can get referrals and you can just really meet some terrific people. So I think it is something, sometimes it's hard to fit that in with everything else on the list, but you made it this far, you can do it.
All right, some of the things that I remember, I never had these personal experiences, but I remember hearing people tell stories about judges or opposing counsel who made sexist remarks or comments during depositions or court proceedings or in the office. What is your advice today? It still happens, you're not going to pretend it doesn't happen. What is your advice on how females today should address those?
You know, in 38 years, I've had it happen so many times. The first time I tried a case was in Franklinton, Louisiana, and Judge Crane was getting ready to pick a jury, and Judge Crane asked for my bar card. He didn't believe I was a lawyer. He was showing my bar card. That's how the sexist comment, I don't know. But I went in there and picked the jury and tried the case and got a very good verdict out of it. So I think you have to put a lot of that stuff aside. I never practiced law with a chip on my shoulder. And I will tell you that I'm in active combat for cases that pay a lot of money. And whenever a lawyer gets a chance to get one up on you, whether he's male or female, he's going to do it. Because that's the nature of the game, it's combative. But I never take that home with me. I mean, I always try to put that in perspective, that they're doing their job. And I can guarantee you that I will be doing my job, and I will remember it. I'm going to remember it. I don't take it home with me, but I do remember it. Because it's, you know, I am in the practice of law mainly for two things: to serve people, because I love helping people, and the second thing is I'm running a business and I'm in the practice of law to make money. If you all are in it for any other purpose, you don't want to listen to what I have to say. Look, I've been a wife. I didn't have to work when I got married. In fact, my husband didn't want me to work, didn't need to work. But to me, it was a challenge. I went to night school, and it wasn't easy to go to night school and work a full-time job at an oil company. So, I mean, if you're there for the glamour and going to tea parties and things like that, then you're practicing for a different reason than I am. A lot of clients see that on television, and they think that the life of a lawyer, particularly a female who practices law, is tea parties and social events and all of that. I mean, I really don't have time to do all of that. I socialize as much as I can. I'm on the boards of several charities, and I support them monetary-wise and also raising money. But, you know, you have to look at what your ultimate goal is. I mean, I love serving people. I think it's a challenge. And I think I get some green stamps when I talk to the Lord upstairs when I do it. A lot of my work is, I have an office in Violet, and a lot of my clients can't afford to pay me down there. And they bring me vegetables and fish and things like that. We don't charge it because they can't afford it. But that's what I want to do. And the other thing is, I've got, as I say, 5 lawyers who work for me. I'm running a business, and when you run a business, you want it to make a profit. And that's why I'm in it. So you have to weigh those on the scale.
Anybody else have any comments on the advice if you do hear the sexist comments or?
Yes. Well, people, I can't emphasize it enough. I think I said it before, and Darlene just said it, is you can't let it bother you. You have to act professionally at all times. You have to do your best and focus on you doing the job that you're there to do. And no matter what somebody else is doing, like you said, you're not going to forget it. You're not going to forget what they did. But you're not going to let it eat at you. You're not going to let it control you. You're not going to give you any, it's not going to give you any sleepless nights. It can't, because that gives them power over you. And I hate to say, I haven't seen someone who would do it, but I bet there's some people some men who would know that upsets you, puts you off guard, and when they're up against you, they'll be sure to do it again because they knew they unnerved you, so why not do it again? And you just can't let it hit you. I had a case once where, there was I'm not going to name names, but it was a man who had his own firm, and it was well known around town that he would not hire a woman because he just did not believe that a woman should be practicing law. And he came to our firm to handle a case for one of his clients. And I was on the case because of my expertise in insurance law, and a male partner, one of the male partners, of course, he went to him to give him the case. But I was put on the case, and he seemed to handle it well. He was always gracious in my company, always friendly. But the one day when the male partner sent me to the Western District in federal court to argue a motion, I won now. But he called him after he found out that I had been sent to do it, and screamed at him because he did not want a woman arguing a motion for his client. Now, I won the motion, but it's still, I didn't forget it, but I've seen that lawyer many times since then. I've never said a thing to him about it, and I've always been friendly and gracious with him. But that's what you're going to be facing, and you just don't let it control you, and you just blow it off and think, well, that's their problem. You're still going to do well.
This morning, the participants got lots of helpful tips to help them be able to kind of balance work and life. What are some of the helpful tips that you guys can give on pitfalls to avoid when practicing law? Problems, maybe communication, or dealing with supervising attorneys or judges. What advice do you have? So things to avoid.
Well, when you're working in a law firm, you're working with a team. You're just one of the players. So you have to, it's just like going out on a soccer team. I mean, everybody's got to work together to bring forth a conclusion. And most of the cases that I handle are high-profile cases or big cases involving serious injuries, so the stakes are very high. It doesn't matter to me, well, it matters to me, but I mean, if I win or lose a case, it's probably not going to make too much of a difference monetary-wise to me at this stage in my life. But for the client, that's the only chance he has, is my performance in that courtroom. So I know that me and my team have to do the best, because if we lose it, this guy's going to be on welfare rules. And I take the job I do, every job that I do, every case that I try, very seriously. I'm usually accused of taking it too seriously. And, but it's an onerous burden. It always has been for me. Some of you all may not know it, but these levy cases, we just settled the levy board for their policy limits. Our trial team is waiving our fee. If you go in my office, you will see boxes of litigation on that particular case so that people can get that money because they need it so desperately. I mean, in law, it's not how well you play the game. It's whether or not you win or lose. And you only have one shot at it, usually, because an appellate court will rubber stamp it. So make sure you do it well. Make sure you have your team together and there's no backbiting. And do your best when you go in there. So you can say, even if you don't win it, that I did my best, there was nothing else I could do. And I know I've represented that client.
Nanette?
I would say, you have to always be ready. Be ready for the next opportunity. I see more and more with young women, more so than older women. I think I've been around. It's just this avoidance of maybe going to court your first time or approaching the client. If you have a presentation to the client, just maybe not thinking you're the best person to do it. And sometimes I think we're just trying to talk ourselves into it. And I always want to say, especially when I was a partner in the firm, say that to yourself. That's mean to say maybe, but it's sort of once it comes out of your mouth, you're talking to another person. That I had this one. I have to make sure people aren't in the room. Woman associate who would always do this to me, going in to argue a motion. I'd be